Hello and welcome to the DC Stewart Show. I'm your host, Derek Stewart, and it is a Saturday night, and it is November 1st. Wow, folks, November is already here. Seemed like we blinked. It was already February, then it was March, and then the summer just blew by. Now we're looking at November 1st. We're about 3 weeks out before Thanksgiving, but we welcome everyone aboard with us here tonight because we're going to be covering a lot of good sports topics tonight. We got a Major League Baseball game going on, which is the last game 7 of the World Series. It looks like Toronto was out in front earlier. My Dodgers are playing from behind unless they've changed because I haven't looked at it over the last 5 minutes, but I am still pulling for the Dodgers. They've fought their way all the way up to game 7. And I do think there's a distinct possibility that they could pull this game off. It's not going to be easy because they're playing in Toronto and they're playing in front of a hostile crowd. So, we're going to keep our fingers crossed, and I'm going to be monitoring the game throughout this show until it's over. We hope everybody is in good health and good spirits today. And it's the beginning of the weekend. So fall is here. And the temperature is changing, so make sure that you take care of yourself as far as the flu and colds go, because that stuff tends to, fester up around this time of year. So just do everything you can to make sure that you protect yourself when you're out in the public or even when you're at home. I got my kinfolk Isaiah here with me today, and boy, it ain't nothing like having Isaiah with me every day. The stuff that we talk about every day, unfiltered, good stuff, and we share some of that stuff with you here. And I met a lot of interesting people over the weekend, and I'm so blessed and so happy that I'm in a position that I can meet people like I'm meeting now, because I'm finding that the more I meet more people, the more I know we're all human and we're all the same. We think different in some ways, but we're all the same. We all want some of the same things in life. We might not agree upon everything, but there's room to agree to disagree. When you say so? Absolutely. So we have to get back to those moments where if you don't agree with somebody, look, it's respectfully. You can say, look, I respectfully disagree. But we could still have a conversation, or we could still have a relationship in the family, or we can have relationships outside of our families. And that's all that matters. So I'm going to go ahead and unpack my kinfolk here, but I want you to subscribe and hit that like button. And one of the reasons I want you to do these two things is because the algorithm is just off the charts for us, fam. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're growing at a rate that we didn't even expect to grow. I mean, we have an international market now that's kicking down for us. And I'm getting messages and technically emails every day from people from around the world who love our show. They love what we do, and they love, our genuineness and our originality on how we deliver things, because I'm not changing anything up, and I know Isaiah and Najee's not changing anything up either. So just hit that like button. Hit us over at Facebook. Hit us over at Instagram. And we're on TikTok, and we're lighting it up over at TikTok, and we only have X amount of videos up over there. Once I load everything into TikTok, it's just going to be off to the races. So hit that like button and subscribe button on all of these social media platforms, because we're on all of them now, technically. We're streaming from YouTube, and we stream from Facebook, and we're going to be doing an exclusive stream from TikTok, and we're scheduling that in. So I'm going to unpack it, bring in my kinfolks. Isaiah, he looking pretty sharp today, but he's not happy and I'm not happy either, because Miami lost another game today, the University of Miami, and we're going to go over some of the takeaways on that game, because at the end of the day, it doesn't look very promising for the University of Miami football right now to win the ACC like I predicted. So I have to, man up. I'm manning up right now, because I predicted that they would be in the ACC championship, and they would, this would be the year that they would come through. And obviously there are some issues that Mario Cristobal is going to have to address, and the team is going to have to look within themselves to try to pull through some of this, because it's not easy. It's not easy playing college football in any program. I'm not going to put Miami down. I'm not going to put any of the players down. We just want to kind of assess and figure out where did they run into these problems with SMU today? Because SMU has got a good program. They have a good coach, and they have some superior athletes on that team. And it went in overtime, and Miami came up short. So, Isaiah, tell us a little bit about your weekend. We'll kick these topics off, and then we'll go from there.
Well, my weekend started out pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it, and it's not over yet because we still have tomorrow to watch some of the pro football games. But it started out kind of last night and watch St. Thomas Aquinas and Chaminade Madonna over in Fort Lauderdale, and it was a really nice high school game, and they went at it, man. And of course, St. Thomas wind up pulling that game out, but the kids, man, these talented souls that's out there playing football and aspire to go and play on Saturdays in collegiate football. But bro, I love it. The fan base was super packed out there, and the alumni from both schools was out there patronizing their team, and a lot of food and gatherings of folks who just love high school football, and the atmosphere was out of the stratosphere. So yeah, I really had a good time out there, man. And then come home and relax and got ready for today. And then the Canes came up short, man. I'm so pissed off with them is unimaginable, because here it is. They completely just screwed themselves today, because I don't see any path forward to be in the playoffs now. I mean, they already took a leap backwards last week after being 9 and jumped to 10 even after they won the game. So it was showing that those people who categorize these polls, they wasn't favorable to the University of Miami either, because how you are playing a decent game, win the game, and go backwards to 10 instead of 9. So it's just crazy. And now for them to drop a game today, I think they're done. The thing they need to do now is just finish the season strong, start getting a whole new group of good players in there next year, and go from there, because I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off to be in the playoff now, unless there's going to be some dramatic losing from other teams that's in that top 10 to give them an opportunity. Yeah.
Well, the thing that's kind of concerning to me is it seems like every year University of Miami gets into a situation where they have to depend on other teams and other programs to kind of help them along in a way, from the perspective of, look, it's kind of like the NFL playoffs where you have the wild card and you have the playoff scenarios out of both conferences, and then you look at the divisions. And the thing about life that I've learned about anything in life is you try to do everything you can to control your own destiny. You have to control your own destiny, because if you don't control your own destiny, you're going to be at the whims of other people or other groups or other teams. And we don't want to put ourselves into scenarios and situations like that. It is your responsibility and determination to make sure you win. If you're playing football or any sport for that matter, you win out. You don't worry about other teams. You worry about each game, each week, and then you play from that point on to try to reach your goals and, trying to get to the playoffs or get to the conference championship. And right now they've lost two conference games, man. I would go as far as to say right now, I believe that they are not going to be in that ACC conference championship. I know that may sound a little bit extreme, and I don't want it to sound extreme, but it's just the reality of the whole thing. When you say,
yeah, of course. Yeah. When you start to drop games and doing the things that they did just today. I mean, you go into a dogfight and you come up short in overtime, and now you drop 2 games in your conference. It's tough. I mean, you can go 2 games in their non-conference and still got a shot. But when you have a conference game and you lose, you just playing a season out. Just hopefully you will have a decent season, because if you go 10-2, and that's a good season, but it don't get you anywhere. It's just a good season. So that's not the goal. I mean, it surely should never be the goal of any player to just have a good season, because the championship is the ultimate goal. Every player should aspire to obtain, when you're playing football. So they just, I mean, it's really disheartening to me, because I see the level of talent that they have on this team. And for somehow or another, it just started to evaporate, during the mid part of the season. I mean, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it just started to evaporate. To me, they didn't have that same killer instinct. They wasn't doing the game tackling. They wasn't catching passes that was like crazy type of catches like they were in the beginning of the season. They were so enthused about getting out there on the field. And it just seemed like that just went away, DC. It just seemed like that enthusiasm just started to just diminish.
Right.
And of course, they got beat by letting that happen. So I don't know how they rekindle that same energy to go for the last portion of this season. And if they don't, you can drop a few more games, because everybody is at your neck when you're playing them, because they still looking at those old glory days of the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s to get out there and kick your rear end. And that's what happened today. You got SMU. Man, SMU used to get smothered by the Canes.
Of
Some of these
course.
teams like Louisville, it wasn't be a contest.
They were warm-up
And then,
games for the University of Miami 30 years ago, but 30 years ago is behind us. So we're talking about
yeah.
now in the moment. The coach for SMU, Rhett Lashley, he's off the charts. So we'll talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about some of the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. The main topic is going to be LSU's dysfunction. The University of, Louisiana State University, based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They've always had a good football program. It's traditional. Had a lot of good players come out of that program in the past 40 years, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Tip-top athletes. And some of the best coaches in football, in college football, have coached there. I mean, a lot of people don't remember Bill Arnsparger. Bill Arnsparger was a coach with the Miami Dolphins, but he coached LSU back in the 80s. And I'm bringing Bill Arnsparger's name up because he was one of the great coaches along the way to coach that program into the moment and the time that it is today, moving LSU forward in a trajectory where they've won national championships. You've had Les Miles win a national championship. You've had Ed Orgeron win a national championship with LSU. You've had Nick Saban win a national championship with LSU. And LSU will continue to be a great program. However, it seems as though there's a lot of dysfunction within that program right now that we're going to be talking about during this show, that we're going to bring out what we think is needed for LSU to try to get back on track, because they did fire their coach a couple weeks ago, Brian Kelly, and that kind of built up a whole cloud of smoke where there's a lot of stuff that's got involved in that in terms of people who got involved in it. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. On the other topic notes, we're going to be talking about Chris Greer being fired from the Miami Dolphins. I said all along, and I said a long time ago, Chris Greer should have been gone. It's long overdue. Chris Greer is a good general manager. I have nothing against him personally. I just think that he ran out of shelf life at Miami. Maybe he can get another opportunity to be a general manager somewhere else, and he might get a fresh start. Who knows? We don't know that. But I do know that I think what happened with Miami, some of his draft decisions came back to bite them in some of the trades and some of the, stuff that happened within, transaction within that organization. He had to be responsible for it because he was a general manager. And that's all I know about that. Travis Hunter was injured. At least it was allegedly a knee injury. We're going to try to dig into that and get into that a little bit. And talk a little bit about the NFL. The Dolphins fell to the Ravens the other night. And I know Najee, when he comes back on Monday, and Najee's away, we miss him already, but he's away on assignment. He'll be back with us on Monday. But Najee has got a bone to pick with Isaiah, so we'll be talking a little bit about that one as well. And we would like everybody's participation in this thing with us today, or tonight, should I say. By the way, we're going to roll the clocks back, daylight savings time, early Sunday morning. So that is coming up. I'm looking at about 5 hours from now. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Eastern is a couple hours away.
Eastern is a couple of hours away. So just get ready for that. The sun will go down a lot faster than it did because of daylight savings times. It keeps the sun out, makes summer more exciting wherever you are in this country. Then we are moving into the fall and the winter section of this country as well as the rest of the world. So reach out, shoot us a message, let us know how things are going. We welcome Tony. Freebird Tony, he's one of our most focused and most dedicated, followers to us, and we're so happy he's around. He brings us along the way, and he sent me a list of things yesterday that Miami needed to do to win this game. Obviously, Miami didn't kind of carry out some of those things, and they came up short today. So I know Freebird Tony will be joining us, and if he's not already with us right now. So where the party at, Isaiah? Where is the party? The party is right here, right?
It's going to be a damper because McCain lost, but man, listen, that happened a little while. I was pissed a little while, so I said, I'm not going to let that get me down.
You can't.
I'm not going to let that deter my great spirit. Because I got a chance to hang out with my dad today and my brother, so man, that Canes game just right off my shoulder, man. I'm just really enthused about tomorrow and see what the Dolphins gonna do without their GM and see if they can pull off a win, man. Now, McDaniel, if he don't get himself in gear now that they got rid of the GM, he might be packaged up with them too, dog. He might be gone too. So, boy, brother, he better move along and start winning some games too, man, because it ain't nowhere in the world during the offseason a couple years ago, they gave Tua all of that bag, man. They fat him up really well, and he hadn't done a damn thing. This is the year he's been freaking healthy, and he's been throwing picks after picks after picks after picks. So what in the hell is going on with my fans, man? Damn. I just felt so good. DC, you remember when I was parading around the stadium, making all of that noise and stuff before the season started, and Najee was looking at me like, you don't know what's going to happen to you guys. It's going to be the same old crap like it has been in the past. And I'd be damned if he wasn't right. Monday, I know I'm going to feel it for him. I know it.
You're going to get it on Monday, and I'm going to be here to enjoy it, too.
I was chastising him, and I wanted Lamar to play. Remember, I wanted Lamar to play. I want the Dolphins to beat the Ravens at full strength. I didn't want no freaking saying, Lamar to play. I wanted Lamar to play. And he came in here, and he beat us, man. And now you're going to be talking some crap tomorrow. Monday.
On Monday. Yeah, our weekend wrap up on Monday. Najee will be joining us, and we're gonna be talking a little bit more about basketball because this scandal is still kind of unfolding. It hadn't been in the news cycle for the last 24 to 48 hours that I'm aware of, but it's still in the news cycle, so it's not gonna go anywhere anytime soon. It looks like they've implicated some mobsters, people who were involved behind the scenes on some of the things that happened. So we'll be covering a lot of that, and Najee's going to be covering a lot of that with us. But in the meantime, I'm going to just kind of go down the list of the college football scores before we really kick off that first Annie Brown topic. And it looks as though right now, according to the AP top 25, but we're going to go down the list to the top 12 because I'm more interested in the top 12 because that's going to be the playoffs right there, because we don't need to go over all of these other teams. It looks like Ohio State cruised to victory today, which we expected them to. Ohio State's going to probably cruise all the way up until they get to Michigan. And this is Sharon Moore's moment. Sharon Moore to reinvent himself. And he don't need to reinvent himself. I think he needs to reinvent himself with all of the trouble that the program have incurred over the last several years. And it's not Sharon Moore's fault altogether. Some of it's Harbaugh's fault. I mean, Jim Harbaugh was there. He was the face of the program, and he was responsible for some of that stuff. So I'm not going to, exonerate him and let him off the hook. But Jim Harbaugh is no longer with the program. Sharon Moore is the face of the program. He runs the program. And it would be a game changer for Michigan to get that handled against Ohio State this year. I'm just telling you what I believe. It would be.
He know how to beat him, DC. He beat him before, so
he's beat him twice, I believe. I think he's handled him twice. Yeah. So he know what's needed to beat them. So in order for him to do that, I think that's the only thing that's going to stop Ohio State, to be honest. Wouldn't you say so?
Of course, man. He's got the tools too, man. He's got a great staff. He's got a good football team over there too. So, and they're well coached. So I could see that being a really good game. And I'm actually pulling for him, man, because he's brand new as a head coach, and then he's did that as an interim when Harbaugh was in trouble. So he's taken this program to at least where they wanted to go so far. So I'm rooting for him.
I am too. Not any disrespect or slight to Ryan Day, because what Ryan Day has done at Ohio State is just into the stratosphere with how he's shaped that program into just a constant champion every year in a year. And he ran into his problems too with winning a couple of years, and there was some people talking under their breath about maybe he might not should be there. And then he got that program back on track. And Jeremiah Smith is one of the biggest reasons why. I'm going to give Jeremiah Smith a lot of props. This young man who came out of Miami, and he played in Miami, and he could have went anywhere he wanted to go, but he chose to go to Ohio State, and he is a dynamic receiver. I mean, he's just a step above the rest, in my opinion, when it comes to talent. It's a lot of good receivers in college football, but it just seemed like Jeremiah Smith stands out. And Ryan Day needs to, make the best of it right now, because Jeremiah Smith more likely is going to be gone. I would even say this upcoming year, unless something drastic happens, he's going to be going to the NFL. But his younger brother's already been signed by Ohio State. So with that said, the younger Smith will come in and more likely take up the slack that his brother left behind if Jeremiah Smith decides to declare and go to the NFL, which is very possible. So this game is going to be at Michigan, and they're going to be playing it in the big house. So Ohio State's going to have to come up in there and assert themselves in a way where if they don't, they're going to get it. They're going to get it handed to them, I think, this year. So let's go down the list to that next team, and that's Indiana. Indiana won handily today over Maryland. It looks like Texas A&M, they're still 8-0, so they're sitting at 3. Alabama's sitting at 4, and I want to say Alabama didn't play today. I want to say that they're on a bye week, but they're 7-1.
I didn't see them play today.
Did you see them play today? I did not see them play today. I don't think they're on the scoreboard, because I'm currently looking at the scoreboard on ESPN, and I don't see any Alabama score on there. But they're still ranked up really high. And it looks like Georgia falls right up under Alabama. So Georgia kind of, today they were going back and forth, swinging back and forth with Florida, but they finally got out in front of Florida, and they held their own, and they won that game. So they're 6-1. Oregon is 7-1. Mississippi seemed to struggle a little bit today with South Carolina, but it looks like they're in control of that right now. It's 30-14. Yeah,
they 7-1 as well, right?
And they're 7-1 as well. Mississippi has a really solid chance, and we'll talk a little bit about the coach Lane Kiffin. He's the hottest coach. He's the hottest name out there right now with the NFL and college. So we'll break some of that down because Lane worked hard to get where he is now. I remember when Lane Kiffin was coaching the Raiders. Al Davis, the owner, was on his last leg. He was about to send his wishes off. And Lane Kiffin was coaching that team, and I knew he had a lot of talent. His father, Monty Kiffin, was the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for quite some time, and the Dallas Cowboys as well. Monty coached in the league for 40 years. So Lane come from that pedigree. He comes from a good coaching pedigree, And it looks like Georgia Tech fell one down on the poll. However, they're still 8-0. They're still 8-0. Georgia Tech ended up. Well, I'll recant that. They're losing right now. Georgia Tech is losing to NC State, so there's a distinct possibility Georgia Tech might end up losing a game, which is a conference game, by the way. So it's 41-30, and it is currently in the fourth quarter with 8:17 left for that one.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt is just they're kind of a Cinderella, but I'm not going to call them a Cinderella. Vanderbilt is built to win now. The star quarterback Diego Pavia, he's a stud in my book. He's kind of one of those kind of very dynamic quarterbacks in a lot of ways that he can run an offense, but he can control everything from how he runs it. In other words, he could run with the football, and he could put a real strain on a defense if they decide to stack the box to try to keep him from running. That's when he hurt him with the pass. And Vanderbilt is built to last. They're built to win right now, so they're currently ranked number 9. If Georgia Tech loses, Vanderbilt's probably going to move up, possibly into that slot. Right now on number 10, Miami lost today, so they'll be at 6-2. They're going to drop down. I don't know how far they're going to drop, but they won't be in that top 12. They won't be in that top 12.
They're going to be between 12 and 15, I think.
Could be. And we'll find out tomorrow because the polls tend to change and come out on Sundays. I believe after 12 o'clock Sunday Eastern time, the polls change, if I'm not mistaken. And
one last night, DC.
Who?
Your boy over there in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We got to bring that up. Bill Belichick got his first conference win yesterday against Syracuse, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's sad about that is, for me, that Syracuse started out with a promising season. I mean, they were able to go up into Clemson in the Death Valley, handle Clemson. And, we still got to give Coach Fran Brown a lot of credit. Fran Brown is the head coach for Syracuse. He's done some things over the past 2 years that Dino Babers couldn't do in 5 years. And Dino Babers was the coach at Syracuse before he got fired. Fran Brown was hired out of Georgia. He was the defensive backs coach under Kirby Smart at Georgia, and he was hired. And, they just been on a slope down as well, a downslide, just like Miami. These teams, they'll lose a game and then they just can't seem to dial it back up to get back to where they were before they lost those games, if that makes any sense. It looks like BYU is still 8-0, according to right now, and they were tied at number 10 with Miami. BYU more than likely will move up now. Wouldn't you say so?
Probably. Yeah, they probably going to move up now. I just don't understand. BYU, to me, their team is not that talented, DC. They're decent coaches over there. But I think more so than anything, they're winning these games because they're so damn disciplined, man. They don't make no whole lot of mistakes. They're not that talented, but they continue to win day in and day out. They just continue to win, man. And I think that has everything to do with the fact that they don't make mistakes. And if you make one, they capitalize off of it. So that's where they come in with all of these wins, man. Every game that I watched them play this year, they were supposed to lose. The ones that I watched, they were supposed to lose, and they were losing until the last quarter. For some reason, these other teams they were playing made a few mistakes. They capitalized off those mistakes and made touchdowns, and they won the game. I mean, this is it's a sign of a good team, though, but they just don't have that much talent. They always have the opposing team are more talented than them, but they find a way to win. Yep.
Well, Kalani Satake is the head coach of BYU, and he's carrying on a tradition with BYU from ever since the 80s when Lavelle Edwards was there. And I know you remember Lavelle Edwards. He's legendary. A lot of people talk about all of these legendary coaches, and Lavelle Edwards' name never surfaced. I think his name should be in the conversation a lot more often because he took a tiny little school in Provo, Utah. Probably the population of Provo and the school itself probably is, I would say, I'm going to just throw a number out there, 10,000 people, if that. And I'm probably wrong because I haven't checked it fact-wise, but they have traditionally with BYU, you spot on when it comes to discipline. I mean, with his team, they don't make mistakes, and you could tell they're down to the mechanics of football. If you look at their quarterback right now, his name is Hank. Let's pull his quarterback name up. BYU quarterback Hank, and he played at Boise State before he got into the portal and went over to BYU. But with that said, the way he plays football, he looks like a tight end back there. If you look at, and he wears a really high number. I can tell you one thing, that BYU, Hank Backemeyer, and he played at Boise State. I've seen him play at Boise State, and he's just talented. He's a talented quarterback. He does exactly what the offensive coordinator plans for him to do. And with that said, they're not going to – I don't see BYU ever hitting the slump no time soon because they do have decent athletes coming up in there. Their recruiting is a whole lot different from other schools, of course, because you have to dedicate your life to the Mormon faith when you do join that school. So the recruiting is a little bit different, but respectfully speaking of that football program and the whole school in itself, they're a very talented school in other sports. Basketball, their basketball team, men's basketball, solid. Their women's volleyball team, solid. BYU is a very talented program with all of their sports, and they're just going to continue to compete. So I think they're going to move up.
Will, and I think they will get in the playoffs and get beat in the first round. Though,
well, you gotta look at who they're going to be playing. Yeah, and if they pair them up against these Power 5 schools, sure, they're going to get it. They're going to get it handed to them. Of course,
that's exactly what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So BYU is sitting at 10. They're going to move up. Notre Dame is sitting at 12 at 5-2. And we said 3 weeks ago, if Notre Dame runs the table before the end of the season, guess what? They're going to be right there knocking on that door to get into that 12-team rotation. And you got to give a lot of credit to Marcus Freeman. And Marcus Freeman's name has been floating around for vacant coaching jobs, and we'll get into that a little bit later as well.
Who's at 11? Who's at number 11?
Number 11, it doesn't have a number 11 on here. So if you look at it, the way they got it lined up on AP, BYU is currently sitting at number 11, and Miami was sitting at 10. But they do have both teams ranked at 10, according to what I'm looking at now. So
Miami made that easy for them to put them at 10 and leave Miami. Oh, I tell you. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man.
That's going to be all right because they just going to have to go back to the drawing board and regroup and try to make, and they still can salvage this season. So don't count them out. I'm not counting them out.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not losing no 2 conference games.
Well, conference-wise, sure. It's going to be very difficult. They're going to have help. They'll have to have Louisville drop 2. They'll have to have Georgia Tech drop a couple, and SMU, of course, because if you look at SMU right now, SMU, and I don't even see them right now on the board for AP Top 20, but I'm wondering why, because SMU should be right up there amongst the talented and amongst the teams within that top 25 rotation right now. Louisville is 6-1. Virginia is 7-1. And Tony Elliott, congrats. Tony Elliott, the coach for Virginia, he coached under Dabo Swinney as the offensive coordinator. That brother has got that program back on track. University of Virginia in Charlottesville. It's a great program. He's got it back on track. Oklahoma is dropped to 18th. It looked like they dropped down 5, and they're currently in.
Did they win the game?
They're in a dogfight right now, I believe, with Tennessee, but Oklahoma right now is winning. It's got Oklahoma 23, Tennessee 17, but it's just the third quarter. So they're playing at UT.
What happened with Texas today? They look like I've seen some pieces of that game.
They barely slid by Vanderbilt. I mean, it was a 34-31 win for Texas. And I would have to look at some of the highlights. It looked like Diego Pavia had 365 yards, 27 out of 38 for 365 yards and 3 TDs. And it looks like Wisner Eli was playing in this game. And let's look at the box score real quick so I can get some numbers here to see how these quarterbacks compare it up to each other. But it was a closer game than most people expected for Texas, but Vanderbilt is just that type of team right now. Actually, I said Eli Manning, but Arch Manning is what I'm talking about, the player I'm talking about. 25 out of 33 for 328 and 3 TDs. He had a 93.2 QBR, so it looked like he had a solid game today. Looked like Diego Pavia again, 27 out of 38, 365 yards for 3 TDs, no interceptions. Neither one of these quarterbacks threw interceptions in this game, which is very, very good, for those teams. And we'll see how Texas looks as well, because that SEC is just beating up on one another. And once they beat up on one another, it's just going to have be 2 teams that have to come down to the SEC championship game, which they play in Atlanta every year. And I believe Georgia's coming from the East. I don't think, unless something drastic happens, and Georgia and Tennessee, because Tennessee is solid as a rock as well. But Georgia, I see Kirby having Georgia in that championship game representing the East. Now, the West is tricky, because if you got to look at Texas A&M, they're undefeated. And then you got to look at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin as the coach. They're 7-1. Okay, so that's shaping up to be something really unique coming out of the West, right? Would you say so? And Texas, because you can't count Texas out either, right? I mean, you got 3 teams right there possibly contending to represent the SEC West to fight for the conference title against, let's just say, Georgia. It could be Tennessee, but I would think it would be Georgia. So that pretty much sums up the top 12. We don't need to go down the list any further. So let's get into this first topic, and let's talk a little bit about LSU. They fired Coach Brian Kelly, and Coach Brian Kelly had a winning record. So here's the thing. When you have a winning record, it's a tricky situation when an athletic director or an administration at a school, because technically most people don't realize when an athletic director terminates, he has, or she, because it could be a she, he or she has to have the approval of the board of directors and the president or any other administrators that administrate to the school in terms of, who's hired, who's fired. He has to get clearance to do that. He don't just go out on his own and just say, look, I'm going to fire this guy and not alert, the powers to be that he's going to do it. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, absolutely. They can't just pull that hammer on them like that, but they did. And, we always talk about winning is everything. And when you see these other teams that's there every year, and then you lose lose 3 or 4 games when you just know by the time the end of the season is, you have absolutely no opportunity to advance in the playoffs. You're surely not going to a championship. So they started to gather themselves and say, okay, we need to get rid of this guy and bring somebody in. They don't even think about what they on the hook for. they on the hook for all these millions of dollars, man, but they overlook all the fact that I got to pay this guy millions of dollars for this contract that we wrote for him, and been thinking this is going to be a great, tenure with this guy is going to be there for 10 years, or 7 years, or 8 years, or, 5 years. And this thing don't pan out. So you left holding the bag for this guy where you owe him millions of dollars, and now he's got to clean off the plate, bring in new people while his contract is still has to be fulfilled. So they in a pretty tough position when you fire a head coach, man, because who's to say that next head coach is going to come in there and turn it around? So sometimes these guys rush the judgment. I think they did at Penn State. They rushed the judgment to get rid of James Franklin. I'm just eager to see these replacements, DC. There's a lot of folks out there, but that's not to say they don't come in there and turn those programs around. Sometimes these guys may just have a bad season. I remember Bobby Bowden when he was coaching. He had a few bad seasons here and there, but they didn't really give him, he didn't turn around and win a national championship the next couple of years after having bad seasons. So I don't know why these people are just so impatient now, where they just willing to just say, forget it, get rid of this damn guy, and we'll bring somebody else in. And of course, it don't work out. Texas A&M went through that.
Well, here's a bit of news for you, though. Here's a bit of good news. Well, I'm not going to say good news. This same athletic director terminated Jimbo Fisher and had to pay, and Texas A&M had to pay out this $75 million plus to Jimbo Fisher. So this same athletic director ended up going over to LSU, and now they're on the hook for 54 and some change to Brian Kelly. So I think what happened is a lot of the blame started to shift toward this athletic director for renegotiating, or he was part of a panel that was renegotiating contracts, but they offered Brian Kelly all this money to come from Notre Dame. Brian Kelly was making good money at Notre Dame, and they had to lure him away from Notre Dame. So when they did that, they had to pretty much open up the Mack truck. I mean, the Brinks truck for him to get him to come. So in order to do that, and the same for Jimbo Fisher, these people at these schools, especially like Texas A&M and a lot of other schools and the Mississippis and LSUs, they want to win. They don't care how much it costs at the time when they're trying to get the right coach into a program like that. And who's to say Brian Kelly, if given a little bit of more time, he would have been able to accomplish it, wouldn't you say?
But that's my point exactly, DC. When you rush the judgment on these coaches, you just don't know what happened. It could be certain things that happen to where the team just do not gel. Sometimes you just don't have all the pieces of the puzzle in place, and you might drop a few games in a season. And that's not to say everything is not going to come together. You might have a bad offensive coordinator and then a bad defensive coordinator, a couple, position coaches teaching your linemen, your interior linemen the right things, and you might drop a couple games. But lo and behold, you might get a guy to come in and bring them in, and all of that change within the next couple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But by that time, you already pulled the trigger to get rid of the head coach. So you put this man out on the street and you give him $50 million and just go away. And then you got to bring somebody in there and pay them the same amount of money, and it's just not going to pan out either. So I don't know, man. That athletic director, they
Scott
need to show
Woodward.
him the damn door.
Well, they did. I mean, he's pardoned with LSU. He's going to be out. However, this same athletic director, Scott Woodward, actually brought in Ogeron for that 2019 championship. He brought in Kim Mulkey, who was the basketball for Angel Reese and the women's basketball team. They won a national championship. He brought in a baseball coach, which the LSU baseball team won a national championship. I mean, the athletic director, they could lay blame on him all they want. At the end of the day, this was a collective agreement with the board to lure Brian Kelly out of Notre Dame, pay him all that money, guarantee all that money to him, and it just didn't work out. So why can't they just stomach that instead of just everybody pointing a finger at the athletic director for the termination? I don't think it should all fall in his lap, because when you think about it,
if he brought him in and they displeased with him, he's going to get rid of the guy. I'm telling you right now, when you start getting pressure from those boosters and the alumni and all of this stuff, man, you got to make a power move because your neck is at stake at that point.
Yeah.
So he's got to do it. He's got to do it. The same thing happened here at Miami Dolphins. You got the Dolphins throwing away these games back to back and then being embarrassed and all. Who that falls on? Chris Greer, the GM. So he's the first one done. Now, Mac Daniels, if he can clean it up by the end of the year, they may keep him around. But if he's gone, he's going to probably be gone too, along with Tua. You just don't know how severe and how deep this thing lies, because it's going to be some drastic changing, because the losing is not where it's at.
No, nobody wants to be associated with a loser or any losing team. Nobody wants to be. I mean, there's no patience or tolerance for losing at any rate, at any level. There's no patience for that. So here's the thing again. A lot of these state schools, and I'm just going to talk about the SEC because it's a Southern Conference, the Southeastern Conference, of course. A lot of these are state schools, and some of those state schools have fired coaches in the past, and we didn't see this kind of brush up where, the athletic director is getting turned on by people in political power and stuff like that, saying
what they need.
Well, here's the thing. Let me finish out. Let me finish what I was saying. When you have an establishment and there is collective agreement to either hire or fire, the athletic director does not do that on his own strength. He has to have approval from, if not one person, 2, 3, 4, 5, it could even be more, right?
A whole entire board, yeah.
Yes. So why is all of the blame being shifted on this athletic director? That's what I'm saying, because he's out. He's gone.
Yeah,
and what I suspect... Go ahead.
He's the face of it, and that's why he's taking the brunt of it.
Okay.
That's just without saying. It's without saying. Whenever you think that you're responsible for folks, and then everything lies at your foot. So you got to make sure you make things in order, because if you don't, that's going to be you. They're going to blame you for it. So all those board members going to get on his back and ride him like a stallion, and then he's got to go out there and fix it. And if he don't fix it, they're going to, congregate, get together, and make him pull the trigger on that head coach. That's just the way it works. And then they'll be looking for somebody else and telling them, okay, we'll gather this money up and we'll go get somebody else, and they'll pony the money up to get them. That's how this whole thing works, man.
Well, it sounds a little hypocritical to me because Lane Kiffin's name has surfaced at multiple programs. And if Lane Kiffin were to show interest in LSU, I will promise you they will be willing to open up Fort Knox for Lane Kiffin. The same thing that they did for Brian Kelly. And there's no guarantee Lane can go in there and turn that program. Lane is doing it. He's turned multiple programs. However, he didn't turn USC. Lane Kiffin did not turn USC when he got to USC, when he started coaching Southern Cal. Lane Kiffin got fired from Southern Cal. And as a matter of fact, when the team got back to the airport in Los Angeles, He was told he could not even board the team bus to ride back to the school. Get a cab, get Uber, or get whatever you need to get. You're not getting on this bus to go back to the school. So there's no perfection in any of it. You just take the risk based on a talent level that Lane has, because Lane is one of the hottest coaches in college football right now, of course, right?
Yeah, DC, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But you're talking about, was that his first head coaching job, DC? Was that his first? Because remember something now, Lane Kiffin was a jitterbug back then. He was a young buck. He wasn't that skilled as being a head coach. He done coached several other programs before he get as hot as he is right now. He went to FIU and he went a couple more places before he got to where he is, man. So he didn't just get like this all of a sudden. He had to get those licks across the forehead before he got to be a good coach like he is right now. So people gotta realize that he's not a young buck he's 50 years old, I think. So he's been out around the mulberry bush a while. Look at it. Isn't he 50 or something like that?
I'm pulling it. Yeah, he's 50. You spot on. He's 50 years old.
DC, he's been coaching under Nick Saban all of those years. So he was getting grown to be the way he is right now. All of this stuff didn't just come by overnight. He ain't just get hot overnight.
My point that I'm trying to make a point is, if Lane Kiffin were to show interest in LSU, they would hire him without a doubt.
They will.
But, however, it's going to come with a very hefty price tag.
Yeah.
And his contract would probably even be more than the one was offered to Kelly, and more guarantees in his contract in case it doesn't work out. So they just step on themselves and hypocritically when they talk about hiring coaches, because at the end of the day, there's no guarantee any coach can come in and turn a program around. I mean, it's always a chance it could. And some coaches are better than others. Nick Saban, everywhere he went, he turned it around, of course, instantly. But how many Nick Sabans do you have? I mean, how many Nick Saban have you had in the past? Not very many, right?
There's not any more like that, DC. And I'm going to tell you right now, that Nick Saban philosophy of coaching is gone. Those days are gone long by.
Sure.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, with this new portal, why you think Nick Saban jumped ship and got out of there? It's not because he didn't want to coach anymore. The tide had turned on him with this portal, where people not staying there for 4 years anymore. You might go out there and sit inside somebody's living room and convince their kid to come to your university. And then when he get there, he find out it ain't what it comes out to be, and find some grass is greener on the other side. Whoop, he's out of there. He figured he could make some more NIL money from somewhere else. He's out of it. He figured he may start when he get in there and don't start, but he's out of there. So them days are gone. When Nick Saban was coaching the bulk of his career, when players came to Nick Saban's school, whether it was LSU, Michigan State, or Alabama, they stayed there almost their whole career, from the freshman year to the senior
to their senior year, because college football was structured differently then, right?
Right, and it's no longer like that. So that means there's an extra added challenge to make all of this process work to win games. You got to be a sweetheart. You got to be stern. You got to be able to balance the both of them. And if you don't balance the both of them, something going to suffer on one side. And when it suffer, it's going to affect your games. It's going to affect the game play. And they're going to be lost on your record because of it. So it's just... is a beautiful occupation, but it's stressful as hell, and you really got to have tough skin.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's some options that I was reading earlier today that LSU possibly, according to a contract attorney who kind of looked over everything based on Brian Kelly's terms with his contract, it says here LSU possibly could have several options before writing a $54 million check. One option allows the university to split the total buyout into equal monthly payments rather than paying it all at once. So the buyout is payable over the life of his contract in monthly installments. So he will receive monthly installments of $800,000 a month until his contract will pay out in 2031. However, there's a chance he will not receive the entire $54 million from LSU. His contract includes a clause that requires him to actively seek another football-related job. And if hired elsewhere, LSU would only be responsible for paying the difference between his new salary and what remains in his buyout. It is entirely possible and probable that the university will pay out significantly less, because I don't think it says the lawyer says he don't think Brian Kelly will wait to be unemployed for 6 years before he gets another coaching job. Let me give a bit of advice to Brian Kelly. Go ahead and take those 6 years off, and take those 6 years off. You make sure you take those 6 years off. And when you do, go up in the booth and talk for 6 years in college football. Go on college game day and join Coach Saban in the college game day crew for 6 years and collect you $54 million. And then on the date that it expires in 2031, actively seek another head coaching job. Does that make sense to you, Isaiah?
Yeah, portions of it is, DC, but if he's out for 6 years, he'll be a blue tag by then. He shouldn't be looking for no damn other job. So you got to understand, he's about 64 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. And if he's 64 years old and he wait for 6 years, he's going to be 70, which is a blue tag. And he have absolutely no reason to be out there running up and down there coaching anybody. He shouldn't be trying to play with his damn grandkids. So I would take that money and just relax instead of looking for a job at 70 years old. Well, that's what I think he'll be.
Let's compare it to Jimbo Fisher's contract. Jimbo Fisher was fired November 2023. Jimbo Fisher's not coaching anywhere right now. I mean, that's a couple of years ago, right?
How old is he? Jimbo Fisher is younger than him, too. I guarantee you that. He's not 64. Jimbo Fisher might be around
Jimbo
60.
Fisher is 59.
See? So,
yeah.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah,
but
man.
getting back to this whole firing and this whole, this flare up with LSU, because what really is showing that the school just don't really want, they don't have the stomach to pay $54 million out to him. Unlike some other schools don't care.
They feel like they getting pimped out, DC. That's what it's all about. Because I couldn't believe they fired Ed Orgeron when they fired him. LSU have a tendency of just they just don't have the patience for any type of losing. I mean, Ed Orgeron last year, what did he lose? 3 games and they got rid of him? Something like that. And that's what I'm telling you. 3 games. I just think they rushed the judgment too fast on some of these guys, man. You're talking about a guy who just won you a national championship 2 years prior, and next thing you know, he's out the door. They put that man out the door. And now he's walking around South Beach with his shirt off, looking for a jet.
I don't think, and this is my assertion of it, I don't think it had a lot to do with his own field performance as far as his record went. I just think, and this is what I've gathered from media outlets that I've read, that Ed Orgeron had lost control of that program. So that was some of it. It might not have been all of it, but these were the allegations that he had lost control with the players and, oversight. If that's a good word for you, oversight. He had lost control. Now, there is rumors and allegations that Brian Kelly was kind of indifferent to a lot of things within that LSU culture as well. In other words, Brian Kelly was an outsider coming in anyway. Brian Kelly is from the Midwest. Brian Kelly wasn't a Southerner. Not that it mattered. However, Brian Kelly kind of never possibly fit into that whole dynamic of the culture of LSU, and that began to show. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's bull. That's bull, man.
Well,
About to make me freaking go off. That's so damn stupid to say that because you gave this guy all that money and lured him from somewhere else, and then figure out, oh, he's not fit for us and he's not with our culture. That's dumb as hell, man.
okay,
Now you
so
gotta pay the guy.
okay, so let me rephrase it to you like this. Whenever you have a program and you bring someone in and they're not promoted within the program up, like for example, a lot of programs promote from within. They'll promote a coach who's already been with the program.
Right, that's the
Some
same
programs
thing.
bring in coaches from the outside. So it's a difference there, right?
Yes,
Because there was rumors that some of the players didn't even want to come back there who had played there because of Brian Kelly. This was allegations that some of the players who played there in the past, who was used to coming back to the school, did not want to come back there because of that. So it wasn't as stupid as you trying to make it sound. If you got a culture of people and they're part of a culture and they don't want to be a part of that culture anymore because you got a person inside of the program that they might not agree with or they might not get along with, that does make sense to me. I'm just telling you from my perspective.
Let me show you something. Okay, DC, we speak about this all the time.
Mhm.
Remember when Dion went over to Colorado?
Right.
You know how many people got the hell out of there?
These were players, though. He gave an ultimatum and
Yeah, I'm right. He gave an ultimatum because he was telling them if they wasn't going to go through the rigorous practice and all this stuff and those things that they were doing, the path was going to change and it's going to be different. It's the same thing you're saying. Don't you go there and contradict.
But it didn't. I'm not talking about players. I'm not talking about people within the Colorado organization. There was nobody there that Dion, when he came in, that he had to get rid of, other than the fact that some players transferred out. The ones who wanted to stay, stayed. So in other words, I'm just telling you what the media outlets said about Brian Kelly and people who were part of that LSU program when Orgeron was there, who did not want to come back around because there was allegations that there was indifference, that Brian Kelly didn't care about a lot of stuff that went on within that LSU program that other people cared about. That's all I'm repeating. I don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger.
Well, do you know if that stuff true? Because you be reading off all of this garbage and it could be AI. And it not necessarily true, man.
Well,
it ain't necessarily meaning that's true.
Nothing is necessarily true because all of it's coming out as rumors sometimes, and sometimes people do. They have insiders telling them that information, but they're not going to give up the person who told them that information. They have people within a program or an NFL organization or any professional organization that there's people in there giving out this information to people who are part of the news media. That's all that's about. So I'm just covering that. That's all I was saying. It could be AI. It might not be. It could be. I don't know. But I'm just telling you what.
Made a decision to get rid of Brian Kelly, DC, and that's the bottom line.
Exactly.
All those guys congregated to get rid of this guy. Now they don't understand how they gonna get somebody to replace him, and they caught holding the bag for him, and they don't want to pay the man his money. That's what it's all.
Well, you spot on with that. That is true. That's why I'm speaking directly to Brian Kelly now. Take the 6 years off, make him pay out the $54 million because at the end of the day, a contract is a contract. The terms are terms. If you owe him $54 million, don't give him 53 and some change. You're going to give him the 54 because that's what you owe him per the terms of the contract. And if they're banking on him getting hired somewhere, and that's up to him and it's within his own power, I would just say sit still for 6 years because I wouldn't go nowhere and get hired for 6 years. So anyway, let's move on to this next topic and let's talk a little bit about what's really going on with the University of Miami, man. I mean, You think about the performance today and the performance against Louisville, and if you pair these two performances together, it's just that they've been set back within 3 weeks, technically. Well, they had 4 weeks because they had a couple of buys. They had 2 buys this year. So within a span of a month, they've just been completely reversed into some of the things that they were going through last year. Do you think it's coaching? Do you think it's
the combination of so many things, DC?
It's a combination of a lot of different things, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let me show you something, and this is the reason why I love Nick Saban, man, and I refer to him so much. Nick Saban was a guy who was really stern, and he had this aura about him and this drive about him to make sure that we don't have all of these distractions interfere with our gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think happened with the University of Miami. I think they got big headed. I think they act like they were better than they really were.
Mm-hmm.
And they just lost focus. That's it in a nutshell. That's
Okay.
in a nutshell.
Okay.
Because they were on track to be the number one team in the nation and just lost it, DC. Remember how I was acting like a freaking cheerleader at the beginning of the season because I was seeing all of those things that they did during those championship years. They were downfield blocking. They was catching the balls like ballerinas with all kind of freaking backspins and stuff. They were game tackling. They was protecting the quarterback. They was coming back if the quarterback got in trouble, picking off blocks and then staying home. And they wasn't over pursuing tackles.
Okay.
All of that stuff left them, man. Every last portion of that left. It just, I just couldn't understand. It didn't even look like the same team. They don't even look like the same team.
Mm-hmm.
I would see if they had multiple injury with some of the key players, and then they, of course, drop the game or so. But they don't have anybody injured, man. They got the same product on the field that they started out with. And the intensity and the pride all has left. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
they was busting the ass in the beginning of the season. It wasn't just one guy hitting you. There was multiple, boom, 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 like that. They was bringing the whistle.
Okay.
All of a sudden, it just fell out, man. I haven't seen it. When the last time you seen one of those beautiful long runs? You haven't seen.
I haven't seen it in a while, but their offensive
Right.
line is still effective. However, when they were blowing teams off the ball these first 4 games that they started out, they were completely just wiping teams out. Defensive lines when it came to the running game. Carson Beck looked extremely good in the first 4 games because he was in a clean pocket. I mean, he constantly stood in a clean pocket and he could pick his receivers. He could pick his check downs. But with Louisville threw kind of like a curveball at him where they were showing looks that basically kind of like the NFL does. And that's Ron English from Louisville. He was the defensive coordinator, and they just kept him confused during that Louisville game. And I didn't see this SMU game today. I'm going to watch the replay of it, and I kind of want to see what really happened because it looks like he threw 2 picks today. Did that kind of eliminated, any plus because he did throw 2 touchdowns.
Last pick that I seen, DC, he threw that ball right in the defender's hand in traffic. I don't know whether he.
But did he have a strong pass rush on him to force him into that?
No, he just tried to fire the ball in the coverage, and the guy picked it off. So that's just skill. You got to have a skill level and understand the strength of your arm, man, and you got to be able to see. You got to be able to read these defenses, man. And when he released that ball, that defender already had an opportunity to get it. He just stepped right in front of the receiver and grabbed the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the type of stuff that you won't make it to the NFL doing no crap like that. I'm even looking at Warren, and Warren is a much better quarterback than Beck. Warren is even having trouble right now in the NFL. This is not an easy job, man. And for him to not be able to see these coverages, Warren ain't throw no damn 3 or 4 interceptions every game like Beck is doing now. Beck is just giving the ball away now. He just want to get it out of his hands. And that's not the sign of a poised quarterback. You know, you gotta be poised. You gotta understand when that throw the ball, man. You can't just try to force that ball in like he's doing. He don't have that fire in his arm like that. But what he's doing is he's trying to force the ball in, and he's
Mm-hmm.
getting robbed. So I just, man, these guys got to bring that wood again. They got to start vein tackling and running up under the ball like they was doing in the first part of the season. They're gonna drop a couple more, man. I mean, I don't have that faith in them like I had before.
You and a bunch of other people, I still have faith in them, but the thing is are they going to continue down this road where they're playing at their current performance, where they're underachieving, or are they going to pick it up and say, you know what, this is the end of all of this nonsense, and we're getting ready to get back to where we were in the first part of the season, and we're getting ready to start punishing teams on both sides of the ball? Or are they just going to fall right back into that same, Miami way of every year of possibly either missing the playoffs or possibly not being able to get into the conference championship game? And Mario Cristobal is still a damn good coach. I'm not going to, throw any aspersions on him, cast any aspersions on him or anything. It's just the team has to play at a higher level each game. And we talked a little bit about that, right? Every game is going to get harder. It's not going to get easier, right?
The game where they played with Louisville, they played fast in the first quarters, and they just dropped off in the second half, DC. And if you want to win, that ain't the way to play ball. You got to go all out, all 4 quarters, and if you don't, you're going to come short. Because these teams are still trying to figure out the way to win these games. No matter if you're up 20 points, you still got to keep your feet on the gas.
Pedal on the metal. You keep that pedal on that metal, right?
Yes. Yeah. And otherwise, you're going to come up short. It's nothing like thinking this, DC. You could be up 20 points in the first half. That means this other team can score those same 20 points like you did in the first half, same amount of time. And that's what they done with the Louisville game. They played a sorry second half and lost.
Well, from my understanding of that Louisville game, I turned the TV on within like half of the first quarter it was already into play. They were down 14-0 to Louisville. I don't ever think they ever led the Louisville game. Am I right? They never led that Louisville game. They played from behind the whole game, if I'm not mistaken. And they came up short.
I'm saying they didn't even make no adjustments in the second half.
They didn't make any adjustments in the second half.
Because that second half didn't look good at all.
They couldn't figure Louisville out because one thing is for sure, Jeff Brom, who's the head coach of Louisville, and his name is going to be a hot name too. He's going to get one of these Power 5 jobs, I believe. He's going to get lured out of Louisville. Louisville going to have to step to him, kind of like what Mississippi did with Lane and some other coaches. They got broke off before these other schools can make a proposal to him. Jeff Brom is going to be one of the hottest names in football to go to one of these Power 5 programs.
The last guy that we know to pull a stunt like that there went over to Texas and got his rear end handed to him.
Well, that's true. That was
stayed behind in Louisville. You build a legacy for yourself, and that's how you get that handle. My boy Charlie Strong took that leap of faith going over there.
Well,
messed around out there in Texas, and that was like a worst decision he could have made, because Louisville was popping off with him there when he was, coaching that team. Went over to Texas, and he didn't have the support of many people there. and he failed. So stay where you are, guy. Sometimes that grass is not green on the other side. You think you're gonna get a couple extra bucks? You go
Well,
find yourself out of a job.
let me run this a little bit by what Charlie Strong's situation was at Texas. Charlie Strong signed a contract with the University of Texas in January 2014, a 5-year deal worth over $25 million with a $5 million salary in his first year and an annual $100,000 raise. He was fired in 2016 and was owed a buyout of approximately around $10 million and some change. Charlie Strong left Louisville because of a $25 million deal that Louisville didn't match. They weren't interested in paying him that kind of money in Louisville. Would you have done the same thing Charlie Strong would have done, or you would have just stayed and built the legacy? Does that make sense? You build your legacy, but you make less, but you can go to Texas and make $25 million and get fired in 2 years and then get $10 million out of that.
No, that's not.
I think I'll take the Charlie Strong route. How about that? I'll let you stay at Louisville. You could go stay at Louisville and build your legacy, and Louisville will pay you a couple $1 million a year for the next 10 years or however many years.
Louisville would have been paying him right around the same kind of money he left with if he would have stayed there, because this is the going rate now. That money that they paid Charlie Strong is pocket change all the way around.
Well, now it is, but then it wasn't. That money back then for Charlie Strong, those dollar signs, they added up and they made sense. Dollars make sense. So I'm going to just tell you right now, it would, to me, now I'll say for Charlie Strong's sake, it was worth him going there and getting fired in 2 years and still walking away with the bag. He still walked away with the bag, even though he don't have a job with Texas, right?
No.
Okay, well, we agree to disagree on that one. How about that?
Disagree on that. Yeah, we disagree.
Yes, sir. So let's close this Miami thing out by saying Miami's schedule is going to be against Syracuse. Syracuse is not doing very well, but Syracuse is going to be like a wounded animal when they come up into Miami next week. November 8th, Saturday. They play Syracuse. Then the very next week after that, they play NC State at home. So they're going to get 2 straight home games. NC State right now, I believe, is still winning against, let me see who they were playing earlier, because I had it pulled up here and now it's out of my vision.
Most of those games gonna be in Hard Rock, so I gotta go down there and talk to the guys, man. I gotta talk to Crystal Ball. Gotta get.
Well, NC State just beat Georgia Tech. NC State just beat Georgia Tech 48
that was a good win,
to 36. So Georgia Tech dropped their first game today, and Georgia Tech's coach Brent Key, he's gonna be another name that's going to be floated around for some of these jobs as well.
A good win for NC State, man.
Yeah, because they're currently 5-4 and 2-3 in the ACC. So if they come to Miami and wipe Miami, I mean that'll be a successful season for them, right?
Down here, white, yeah, that will be, but they ain't doing it. I'm going down there to talk to Chris Ball probably Monday or Tuesday, because man, there ain't no way. I'm getting with the playmaker and all them guys, man. We got to have a conversation, brother. Straight.
Yeah. You might want to talk to playmaker Uncle Luke on Monday. Because Uncle Luke was pretty upset with it, too. Uncle Luke says, I tried to tell him to go ahead and get Lane Kiffin. Yeah, I tried to tell them. But they didn't listen.
Right now.
They did not listen.
Luke's hot right now, man. Luke said he ain't listen to me because I ain't grew up on Southwest 8th Street.
That's true.
Hot, man.
Luke is hot under the collar. Yeah. So right now, they just got to concentrate on the rest of the season and not get too enamored with who else is winning and losing. They got to think just think inside of the box and say, look, we got to win out every game from here, and 6-2 right now. If we can win out, it's still a distinct, small possibility they could work their way in if they went out and everything else falls in line. All of the dots line up, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to this next topic. And now let's shift over to the NFL a little bit because we have been talking about college and we'll revert back at some point. It looks like Chris Greer got fired the other day. And we talked about Chris Greer month after month after month. Chris Greer, he had a good relationship with Stephen Ross, but at the end of the day, it ain't about a good relationship. It's about results. We always talk about results. And the Miami Dolphins is having one of their worst seasons that I can remember, losing this many games, of course. And some of the things that's going on inside of the locker room with some of the players, right?
I mean, especially the way they're losing. When they was tanking for Tua, they was losing then too. So yeah.
So let me ask you your opinion on Chris Greer. Do you think it was reasonable to go ahead and fire him and get him out of there and start over again?
I got two opinions on this, DC, and I mean it's mixed because they were so embarrassed the other night, Thursday night, with the Ravens coming in town.
Okay.
They were so embarrassed. You know, you always got to worry about the BBLs in the seats, man, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you looked at that game as hot as the South Florida area is that loves Lamar because he's a product of South Florida.
Pompano Beach, baby.
The people that love him and the folks that I've seen in town to see him play, and on the Dolphins side in that stadium, it was fairly empty, man. It was a lot of empty seats out there. And that's the pure anger and frustration of how this team, in the direction of this team is going. Mm-hmm. So most folks who's pissed, they want Greer gone, man. They want Greer gone because he's been here for quite a while. They understand the fact that Greer was a catalyst of getting rid of Flores when Flores was here. They thought that Flores had the team going in a great direction, but then he didn't like Tua, and they wanted Tua to come in here and prosper, and he did not at first. And it's just so many other trades that he made that didn't pan out. He let some of our best defensive players leave out of here, and then he waited and gave Tua all the money that he can find to give him. And now this year, Tua has thrown like more interceptions that he did in the past. He's healthy this year, but he's not being productive. And then we fool around and lose Tyreek. So that was one of his weapons. And the team is just going south instead of going north. And that has to fall on somebody. Now, if you think he should have had the rest of the year to do it? Probably, because they didn't get rid of McDaniels too. Mm-hmm. So why get rid of the GM? You know, unless it was.
And I was just getting ready to ask you that. Do you think McDaniels should have survived and stayed, and Chris Greer get fired?
Well, Chris Greer is the one brought him in. They probably pissed off with McDaniels too, but then they probably looked at who was going to be the interim head coach, and they didn't really like him, so they probably decided to just go along with McDaniels for the rest of the year. But the situation as a whole is really, really ugly, man. And I think that they need to sit down and find out what's going to go forward, because I like McDaniels a lot, man. I really do. I think he's a smart guy, but I don't think he's cut out to be a head coach, man, for some reason. And the reason I feel like that is he's too damn nice. I mean, he's a soft-spoken guy. He looked like this groovy-ass, heavy metal-looking guy who's just want to get a drink. You know, he just want to spend a freaking Saturday night with his leg kicked up with a scotch in his damn hand instead of freaking calling plays, man. And and he's too soft and kind-hearted to these players.
Right.
And then when you all twist that all in one, and you look at him, his body stature looked like a kid. He looked like he's a between 14 and 16-year-old, just got his damn driver's license. No bitty thing. And those players, 6'6", 6'7", 300 change, they don't respect him, man. They really don't respect him. So that's the thing in a nutshell. And he don't put his foot down when they do something dumb. When these guys drop passes, when they're late for practice or games and stuff like that, you don't hear anything. And then Tua freaking dry snitched on all of them. So it goes to show you things not going right in that locker room. So that's the reason why all of this stuff is happening to the Dolphins.
Well, they got a long off season, and they're gonna have to do a lot of restructuring, possibly of contracts, because there, with some rumors that Jalen Waddle might even get traded. I think the Steelers' name popped up as a possible trade partner to get Waddle, for some value, because Miami's gonna have to have some value,
You talking about off season or this year?
Off season.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
so with that said,
they're gonna have to dig and find some more receivers because there's rumors surrounding the Tyreek's camp that he's gonna retire because of that injury. It's so severe, that damage was so severe. So they don't know whether he's gonna come back yet. They really don't know. And the way that injury looked, man, it just looked.
It was gnarly. It was a gnarly looking injury for sure. Yeah.
His main strong point on that football field is to run real fast and cut.
Yeah.
Oh, man, listen, when you have that injury, you can't cut run as fast as he is and make that quick cut. Those quick cuts, you can blow that thing out again, man. So he should be looking to shut it down. I mean, because his strongest point is those beautiful cuts and beautiful routes that he ran. It is not all about burning down the sideline. It's those quick cuts that he used to make,
Right.
So.
Well, Chris Greer was with the organization for 10 years. He spent 10 years with the organization. He did some good things for the organization, and then he did some things that might not have helped the organization in a way. Here's my possible distinct prediction, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there to you now, that I think Dan Marino's name is going to pop up as general manager, a candidate to become general manager of the Dolphins. He's been president. He's done everything else within the organization, and, why wouldn't you think that Stephen Ross wouldn't consider him?
Well, he might consider him. As a matter of fact, Marino might be the catalyst of getting him ran out of there because he's nothing but a damn backstabber. But they might hire him. They might put Marino's sleazy ass in there to put him in there. But that ain't gonna mean that they're gonna be successful. Marino been stabbing at this guy for the longest. Marino was the one that helped get Flores fired.
Is that right?
Of course it is. He was always hanging out with Tua, trying to act like that was his big brother and all that stuff. And, Flores was pissed like hell that they brought Tua in here because he was soft as butter. And they hired him anyway. And Flores didn't like that type of quarterback, man. Flores wanted a stern quarterback that's going to take hits and know how to throw the ball and a good hardcore quarterback. I mean, he was coaching on the team with Belichick. When Brady was there, he wanted a quarterback that's going to sit back there and pick you apart. And if he need to tuck the ball and run, he can run. He didn't want the guy to be freaking out 5 or 6 games a year, and that's what Tua was doing. Right. He was out every time you turn around. He didn't even know how to fall right. He just learned how to fall this year.
That's right.
Now you see him slide like he going to damn third base every time somebody come in his face.
Well, they had an opportunity to make a decision whether they wanted Tua or Justin Herbert, and they went with Tua. So
Yep.
They have to live with that now. He's with this team. He's done some good things with this team, but I mean, the injuries and all of that stuff that's kind of set him back over the years, and the team as well. It makes you wonder if Justin Herbert would have been a better fit, right?
Well, yeah. You're talking about Tua might not even be on the team next year either. We just
I
don't
think
really
if they're
know
going to
about
do it the
Tua.
right way, if they're going to start trying to rebuild this team, they're going to probably need to start at the quarterback position. And, trade Tua, he still got some value. Wouldn't you think he got some value, or you just don't have no value because he keep getting hurt?
People, it's one thing to get a broken arm or leg or something like that, but when you're talking about a brain injury like a concussion, that's an altogether different scenario with that type of injury because you really never know. So I don't know how much value he has, man, because the Dolphin understood the fact that he was getting these injuries, but they just were so loyal to him, they gave him the bag that he asked for because he did have the numbers for it. And then, of course, they had good receivers with Waddle and Tyreek. And if you're talking about trading Waddle and Tyreek is injured anyway, so what the hell else do you have? So it's just a bunch of stuff that they're going to have to get covered before the season ends and begin because you're going to have a lot of stuff in place. And they got to do it rapidly, too, because the Dolphins not the only team in the NFL that's going through these type of crises. Because the Jets going through it and many other teams are going through it.
Yeah. Well, Aaron Glenn with the Jets, he inherited a team just – the Jets has really kind of never had themselves together. With just the organization itself, to me, is just not where it needs to be. And I'm not, shifting that on any specific thing, but I could give Aaron Glenn some wiggling room. But as far as these other teams that had these coaches and stuff, and they didn't get it done, or they had players that came in there that didn't make a difference, it's very hard to. It's very hard to defend them, in other words. Now, let's shift over a little bit to Kevin Stefanski with Shedeur Sanders over at Cleveland. I think they should just go ahead and on the off season, after this season, just release Shedeur and let him go somewhere where he can play. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, they just want to tag along and antagonize him. They know damn well that Shedeur can play, but they just trying to just dig at his character, man, and see if he will lash out and act ugly, and he hasn't done that. As a matter of fact, I think he's been handling himself like a gentleman. He knows
he's been very professional, right?
Yeah, good, and I'm glad he's doing that because they're just teasing him, messing around with him, and they shouldn't do that because here's a guy who aspired to be as good as he can be, and he did it. I mean, I watched the level of play from HBCU to Colorado to be a late round in the Heisman Trophy candidate, and then the gold 6 or 5 or whatever the case he was in the draft, which was like crazy as hell. I've never seen anybody who put those kind of numbers up and had that kind of talent late in rounds at all. But they just did that because they pissed with his father and they felt like he's arrogant and all this type of stuff. It's good to be like that, man. As an athlete, if you don't think you're the best and flamboyant, who the hell else you think don't think that?
That's right.
So be the best you can be and show it. And because he showed it, he backed up how he conduct himself. So I don't understand why they keep saying, "Oh, you think he's this and that." When he get on that damn football field, the games I seen him play throughout his career, he was always good at it. And tough too. I seen him get hit like, man, I've seen teams convert on him. Guys hit him 3 or 4 at the same time. And he limped and he go back to that huddle and keep going. I mean, I thought he was going to go out on a stretch of some game.
Sure.
He's a tough little cookie, man. and he's proven that he can play at the NFL level. So I think they need to just leave the guy alone and let him do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they need to do.
Absolutely. Well said. Um, Last but not least, it looks like Travis Hunter is headed for IR, injured reserve.
Yeah.
Based on suffering a non-contact knee injury during Thursday's practice. He's still undergoing tests on his knee, but early reports saying it's serious. Now, I remember the last time when Teddy Bridgewater had a non-contact injury when he was the Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback,
Yeah.
and they said Teddy Bridgewater was on the brink of losing his leg. I mean, it was that bad. I mean, and nobody touched him. It was just one of them freak situations where he injured his leg, and he was blessed that he was able to recover from that, and now he's still playing professional football. But to see this happen to Hunter at such a early phase of his career, in the season is kind of very unfortunate. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I feel for him, man, because he's such a good kid. You know, he's trying to do the best he can and to express his talent and show his talent, and people talked about him and tried to bring this personal thing into play, talk about his family and all that type of stuff, man. I mean, you know how I felt about that, DC. I just want this guy to go out there and have fun because football is the ultimate sport to me.
It
It's no
is.
other.
It is.
I mean, and then you got a guy as talented as he is that can play both ways better than everybody.
Absolutely.
It's rare. Man, it's super rare for a guy to be the best on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to sustain an injury like that, man, as hard as he goes, I'm saying as hard as he play, hopefully this thing can get healed
Right.
because he's going all out on defense and all out on offense. So when you got a guy who's don't give it their best and give it their all, sometimes they can heal faster because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. But a guy like Travis Hunter, who's giving you all of his soul and his body and his mind to this game, to get injured, and it's got to be devastating for him because
Absolutely.
he loved this game so much, man, and you could tell that because he's willing to sacrifice himself playing defense when that offense is good enough.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
So it looks like whenever a player goes on injured reserve, and injured reserve is considered somewhat serious. When a player has to go to injured reserve, that means it's a serious injury, depending on
yeah,
the outcome of the injury. But they must miss at least 4 games. So you look at the NFL season, we're already rolling into November, and then December. The season has got several more months to go, and that's it, man. About
yeah,
8 more weeks, right? Before the
yeah.
playoffs kick off and start. I don't know if Jacksonville is going to have an opportunity to be in the playoffs, but his talent level would be missed on a team like Jacksonville because they have some talent on their team, but they have Travis Hunter as going both ways, playing receiver and playing cornerback is a big plus for Jacksonville, I would say. I would think.
Yeah, they probably gonna put him out and bring him out for the rest of the year, DC, because he's too valuable for the team to sustain an injury like that, and especially he's gonna have surgery if he is on injured reserve, and then to try to force him back when they're not going anywhere. It's not smart for their organization to even try that. The best thing they should do is get him rehabilitated and ready for next year because it's just he's just too young. He's too valuable to the team, and he means so much to the program. So I don't think they need to even worry about playing him anymore this year.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
It looks as though here too, I'm looking at one particular um one particular article right now. It says the Eagles are a team to watch for Jalen Phillips. And Jalen Phillips is an edge rusher for Miami on the defense. He played at UCLA. He came out and he just lit things up. He's a very effective pass rusher. And, basically since they got rid of Chris Greer, like I said, they're going to have to go into the offseason and make some really solid moves to revamp this team and get that defense back to where it needs to be and get that offense, get some really talented skill players on that offense, because that's just going to make a difference. That's going to be the difference, I would think. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. So we got to be in search for a good GM. I mean, you said that Marino's name is surfaced for that, but I mean, he might, if they give him the job, hopefully he's smart enough to surround himself with some people that knows all about having a good defensive line and defensive end and all this type of stuff, and be able to get some good knowledge of what kind of defensive backs to bring in there and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if his name is in the hat, he's probably gonna get the job if he wanted. If his name is surfacing around it, I think that they'll give him the job just for the notoriety of him being part of the organization and what he contribute to this organization as a player.
Yeah, I'm looking at possible names here, and I don't see his name on this particular list. It looks like a bunch of different names on here, but I do not see Dan Marino's name on here. So that's just more so maybe rumor right now, because I did see it on another platform. But
as who's named there?
Well, they got multiple names on here. They have the assistant general manager of the Bears, Ian Cunningham, assistant general manager for the Eagles, Alec Hallaby, vice president of football operations and strategy for the Philadelphia Eagles, Adam Berry, Josh Williams, director of scouting for the in football operations for the San Francisco 49ers, Chad Alexander, assistant GM to the Chargers, Brandon Brown, assistant GM to the Giants. It's a long list. And you know whose name is not on there that should be on there? Is my man from ESPN, Lewis. Let's see, ESPN Lewis. He's an announcer. He's a very smart Lewis Riddick. Lewis Riddick should be a general manager somewhere, and he's been in a front office before. He was with the Eagles.
You think he want the job, BC?
Well, that remains to be seen, but I will put it out there right now that Lewis Riddick would be a very viable candidate for interviewing for that position. I'm not saying he should get that position, but I think they should give Lewis Riddick, if he's interested, an opportunity to interview for that position. Yeah. So anyway, we'll close it out tonight, and we had a beautiful show. We had a really fun time talking about some of the things that was going on at the college level and at the pro level. We're going to be back on Monday to do a weekend recap. So we would like everybody to join us on a Monday. By the way, my Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, have tied the Toronto Blue Jays. They're playing into an extra inning right now. The score is 4-4. And I'm banking on the Dodgers to pull this thing off and bring back another championship to the city of Los Angeles, because it's very important. We need something good to come to the city, like in terms of a championship, because it'll help lift up everybody that lives here, because championships matter no matter what. Right now they have Yamamoto, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, star pitcher out that they got from Japan. He's pitching. He's 2-0 against the Blue Jays. They haven't been able to do much on him. So 10th inning, 1 out, 4-4 score. Let's go Dodgers. Go Dodgers, baby. Monday morning, if the Dodgers win tonight, I'm going to wear my Dodgers gear on Monday morning. How about that?
Do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do it during the show Monday when we recap with Najee.
Absolutely. By all means.
Express yourself, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to us. my kinfolk here, me and Isaiah, and my kinfolk Najee. He'll be back with us on Monday. We're having so much fun. Boy, y'all done let us find something that we enjoy doing, and man, we done got used to it now. So just get used to seeing us quite often, because we gonna be doing this thing for a while, and for years to come, from my perspective of it. You got anything to close us out with tonight, Isaiah?
No, man, it's a normal thing for me to tell our folks to continue to watch us and enjoy the content and the entertainment and all this stuff, man, and watch these sports. There's so much foolishness and things happening around the world, but sports will bring you back to level head type of ordeal. So yeah, and love on each other, man. Do it. It's important. So I want to ask you to get involved with these football games tomorrow, so you'll be in tune to what we're talking about on Monday. We'll be linking back up with Najee. I know he's gonna drill me because the Ravens came in town Thursday and beat my Dolphins. I know he's gonna be talking some
for
crap
sure.
out of
For
this
sure.
world, man.
I'll tell him to
Love
take
you
it a
guys
little bit
for him.
easy on you, though. I'll tell Najee to take it
Ready
easy.
for him, man.
I'm gonna just tell Najee, go easy on him, man. Just he needs some tender love and affection.
Yeah, I never use the middle finger at nobody, but man, I'm really thinking about it. Oh,
There you
man.
go.
But yeah, he gonna have some really harsh talk for me. But other than that, you guys, thanks so much for patronizing our business and telling your friends, like I asked you, and your family and your co-workers and all that stuff, that we enjoy all of this stuff, and have a pleasant rest of the week.
Absolutely. And one last thing, what does BBL, the term BBL, stand for? If you would willing to share that with us.
Butt lift is a Brazilian butt lift. When you go to Brazil, you get an enhancement.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very creative, the
that.
way you say BBLs into the seats for people going to sporting events, right?
Yeah, when I say BBL, I mean Brazilian butt lift. We need to have a lot of them in the Dolphins seats, man. Bring them in there, because that's what we need to fill up the stadium. Yeah.
All righty. Well, that ends the show tonight on a Saturday night. It is November 1st. Make sure you set your clocks back. Daylight saving time has officially ended. More so on the East Coast in a little bit. I think it's almost 12 midnight on the East Coast now. And have yourself a wonderful rest of your weekend, and make sure that you take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, because I meet a lot of people that's going through a lot of things now, mentally and physically, and we need to all get healthy, and we need to all get together with each other and just band together to help everybody be healthy. Eat right, sleep right, and just keep your health where it needs to be, because that's what matters. If you're not here, ain't nothing you can do to stress, because you're going to be gone. So we're looking at it like that. Take care of yourself. Take care of people you love. Take care of people around you. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy.
You've reached the end of another episode of the DC Stewart Sports Talk Podcast. Be sure to connect with us at Facebook and Twitter.com. Your voice is important, so head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Catch our next episode.